Hey, this is Robert Jackson, and thank you for tuning in to Station Square. And hope y'all are doing well out there. And this is a nice Monday afternoon for the guests and it's Monday morning for me. Yeah, this is a perfect way to start off the day. And let's get a little light in here. There we go.
Nice.
Um, yeah, just illuminate. Illuminate to start off the day. Like, let's get in that good old sunshine and my room. Thank you so much for tuning in. And we have somebody who has been in the VO business for a while. They've also been an actor, and they pretty much do a jack of all trades. So I'm very pleased to have Jenny Maguire on today's little episode here.
Thanks for having me, Robert. It's a pleasure.
Yep, anytime. So I'm just wanted to jump right into this. I know this year has kind of been like there's a lot that's been happening, and there's a lot that's just been going on around the world. So, what has been something that's been keeping you, productive and just still hanging in there, if that's the best way
Grounded,
of starting
yeah.
this. Yeah, keeping yourself grounded.
Grounded and inspired.
Yeah,
Yeah, how do we not succumb to all the crazy in the world? It's hard to do these days.
yeah.
Um, I right now the thing that I'm really excited about, and one reason why when you had reached out to me last week, I couldn't do it was we just launched our short film called Pretty Doesn't Hurt on a platform called Omeletto. It's a YouTube platform that houses the tagline is the world's best shorts. And we were very honored to be chosen as part of their platform. And so we launched that like 2 weeks ago. We've had like 20,000 views or 21,000 views so far. Um, so that's been really exciting as that short film has been a creative project in my life since 2019. So you got to be very patient with the creative process, as we know. And we were supposed to have shot that film in we had just shot our fundraising video in February of 2020, and then the pandemic hit. And I remember that day so vividly where we were on the phone and we were getting ready to start our whole Seed and Spark fundraising campaign. And I was like, I don't think this is going to happen. And that was devastating. We made a promise to each other that day that we would make this film happen. And so during the pandemic, um, the team of actors, all of us became producers. We got our skin in the game. The writer was also a producer as well as the director. And we kept working on the script and really fine tuning it to who we were as actors and people. And then we finally raised money in July of 2021. And then we shot in October of 2022. And then we edited and packaged it for like the next year. And then we did the festival run in 2023. And now it's finally out on Amuletto and into the world.
So it definitely sounds like you've been staying relatively busy and productive even during the, you know, pandemic and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, been an interesting time of how to keep creative, how to keep your soul alive and nurtured while everything is turned upside down. And the way that I have found that is through my creative outlets of working and collaborating with people that I love. I live in Beacon, New York, which is a small little upstate town. Do you know Beacon?
Um, sort of.
Sort of. Are you from the East Coast or the West Coast originally?
I mean, I've always been from the West Coast. I'm very familiar with New York, but I'm just not too acquainted with Beacon in
Well,
particular.
Beacon's a beautiful little town along the Hudson, and it's kind of where a lot of the city people leave when they want to get more nature and start families. And so it's this beautiful mixture. I grew up in a small little country town in Virginia called Front Royal, Virginia. I grew up in the Blue Ridge Mountains, Shenandoah Valley. So it's this beautiful combination of where I grew up, and then I was 20 plus years in the city in Brooklyn. So it's this beautiful combination of the nature and community, and also, but with like artisan ideas and big city people ideas and values. And so I sing with a choir here called the Beacon Rising Choir. And that has been a major way that I have kept my soul alive and inspired. I feel like as we get older, especially, like, how do we find creative outlets that are not ego driven, but community driven and comes from a place of love? Like, I just love to do this. It's not because of fame or because of money. It's just something that nurtures and soothes the soul. So
Yeah,
that's one way that I've definitely been keeping it together is by
yeah.
singing. You got to sing and you got to dance. There's an amazing community here that does like 5 rhythm dancing, and you go and you get it all out. And
When it comes to New York, that's definitely the place to be.
yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah,
amazing.
for being a triple threat, like with singing and acting and dancing and all that good
Yeah.
jazz.
The thing is, I don't do musical theater though. I don't do like musical theater is not my jam. I do mainly straight plays. Like, I'll say it, like my heyday of my 20s and my 30s in the city, when I was like a very wide-eyed little, young girl from the South, and everything was new and exciting. And I got involved. I mainly did new play development. So I worked with playwrights all the time, developing new works, being the first person to like originate a role, which was my favorite thing in the world to do. I would travel to regional theaters and create, or we would do off Broadway. I worked a lot of like Rattlestick and Manhattan Theater Club. And I love that world more than anything. So singing and dancing is really just for me. Like when I walk in a choir, they're auditioning for solos. I'm like, no, I don't want one. I just want to sing with everybody else. I just want to be part of this is my community, not my, not my ego place. So,
Yeah. And how would you say growing up in the Beacon area, how would you say that was like for you, just as an actress or just as a creative in general?
I didn't grow up in Beacon. I grew up in Front Royal, Virginia, which is a small
Okay.
little country town in Virginia, the Blue Ridge Mountains, the beginning of the Skyline Drive. So that's much different than Beacon. Like, my daughter's growing up in Beacon, and she's definitely
Okay.
getting kind of the best of all worlds. Like, she's exposed to the city. She actually was a toddler in the city. She grew up in Brooklyn, and then we went out to the West Coast for a couple of years, and then we moved back to Beacon, which was the best decision ever. And she is having a community life where she gets to run across the street to that neighbor, and run up the street to that neighbor, and run up the street to that neighbor. It's still very innocent. They can walk to Main Street by themselves. We have an active Main Street here, like a real cool, walk to Main Street and walk down the stores, go to the arcade kind of Main Street. I love Beacon. I'm a big fan. Uh, and there's a lot happening here. There's a lot of creative, so many talented artists and creative people. And this is where we shot Pretty Doesn't Hurt, actually, in Beacon. So I was able to like bring in the community that I know. And even now, I wish that we were shooting it again here because I know more people. I would have had more talent. It's the kind of community that I feel like if I was like, okay, let's get these people together for the weekend and create something, we would do it. Recently, my friend just created a film here and utilize the whole community, and it's kind of like a rock album, poetry and motion visual music album. It's called The Father Who Stayed, and it's a beautiful piece, and the whole community came together and made it happen. It's gonna start getting out there this year. So there's always stuff happening, which is amazing. I mean, I still go into the city for things, when needed. I did a play in the city last fall for like the first time in a while. Um, just since having a kid, I haven't been doing as much theater as I used to because I like being home with my kid at night. So when you're in the theater, you can't really do that. Uh, but I did a show last year. It was just like a week in the city, part of this Supernova Monologues festival, and it was written by prisoners. And it was the first time they included a female prison playwright, or a female playwright who happens to be in prison. Um, this amazing writer named Elizabeth Hawes, very intense story, and she wrote these beautiful monologues, and myself and Phyllis Johnson performed like 6 different monologues as a part of this bigger piece of one acts, and we would be sprinkled in between. And that was done at the Wild Project down the East Village, and that was a lot of fun. And that was directed by Gia Farakis, who I had worked with before. So the one reason why I came back to the East Coast, I had gone out to the West Coast for a little bit. One reason why I came back to the East Coast is because that's where my community is. So all these people that I've worked with over the years and everything, they all come back to me. Like the director of Pretty Doesn't Hurt and I worked together 20 some years ago in West Virginia in a play called The Tie That Binds. And here we are 20 some years later, still working together, still collaborating. The writer of the short film is this amazing woman, Brooke Berman, whom I used to workshop her shows back in the day. So especially as I get older, like the thing that is most important to me is creating with people that I love and that I trust.
That's a pretty good way of looking at it. So I know there's like I kind of wanted to also discuss like, how moving from the West Coast to East, because you said that you were from Virginia and then you were in the West Coast for a little bit and then you moved to New York. So would you say that the whole moving process was like, or just being in New York really helped you, at least when it comes to acting or just getting your career started? Would you say that it really helped get your name out there of just moving to a big city like New York?
Yeah, of course. You know, it's a weird, I was very lucky in that I worked at this little theater in Middletown, Virginia called the Wayside Theater. And I worked there for 2 summers while I was in college. I was an intern and then I got to be in the shows as well. Like I was in The Diviners and in Amadeus, but I also lived in a little red shack behind the theater, and I worked in the costume shop and the set shop. And my director of this piece called Taking Steps was a man named Richard Harden, who has since passed, who's very dear to me. And he was married to Mary Harden, who used to own Harden Curtis Agency in New York. And she came and she saw the show and she said, if you ever want to move to New York, reach out to me. And so a month after I graduated from college with $400 in my pocket and a place to stay for 2 weeks, it was an apartment of one of the guys who was at the Wayside Theater doing a show. I moved to New York and I had an agent from like day one, which is very unusual. And so yeah, so moving to the city, but I was so why I could move like all my bags and everything in a cab for like the first 6 months that I lived there. Like, I would live here and then I would live there and then I would live here. And I remember calling my mom. I was staying on 43rd Street between 10th and 11th and being like, "Oh my God, it's so loud. It's so loud here." And her being like, "It'll be music to your ears." And she was right, Soon that traffic, that buzz, that noise, that New York City texture, it becomes your soundtrack. especially before we were in our ear pods all the time. So nowadays everyone's just in their own zone. But back when I first moved to New York, it was still very much like alive and in your face and dirty in a good way. And then, yes, and then, but I was there for 20 some years. I would go away and do regional theater and stuff, come back. It was always my base of how I would get work. And then once my daughter was born, my husband wanted to go back to school. So we went back out to the West Coast for a little bit, but we landed in the suburbs, which was not a good spot for me. That was not a good mix. Um, and then once my husband was done with school, I was yearning to come back to my community and to the East Coast. I realized I need the seasons. They're very, very important to me. I cannot be 100 degrees in January in a parking lot. Like, that's not okay for my soul. So I realized like a lot of my spirituality, a lot of what I connect to is the earth and the seasons. And so without that, I felt not as full as I do when I have them, if that makes sense at all. That's what I love about this community so much is that there is this alternate thinking way of life of lots of healers, lots of spirituality, lots of people who are connected to themselves. And one of the things that helps me as an artist is just to keep exploring and staying curious and building that tool belt, like what I don't believe in all or nothing. I don't believe you have to just do one thing. I believe that you have a tool belt with all these different ideas and resources and people there that you can like pull out and use whenever and however you need them, however they will help you. Um, I trained to be a creativity coach at one point just because it was something naturally that I did. I love to help other people's projects and facilitate them and be the champion of them. I love to watch things come to life. I love process. So a lot of
Yeah.
things that I've been like champion or am a part of are are always in processes. There's always something going on, you never know quite what the day is going to bring, but someone's always calling me, like, can you do this? Can you do that? So I feel very, very fortunate to be back among my community that I love.
Yeah. And it's just really, I also loved how you touched upon like, um, because like just listening to you, you just touched upon like moving here and here, and there. So it's just all really serendipitous in a way where, you do this one thing, but then the next thing you know, you kind of find yourself working with somebody that I mean, you honestly would never even expect. It's like you said, each day brings something new to the table, and you know, every single day it's like something new. You know what I mean? It's not
Yeah.
like each day is kind of like you do the same routine every single day. I mean, some days it can be busy, but then oftentimes it could kind of be like, you could kind of go through a dry spell, and we know how devastating that can be. That can be as a
Absolutely.
creative
Look,
individual.
I don't
So,
always wake up,
yeah,
I don't always look, LA was tough. Being out on the West Coast was tough for me. I had a toddler.
yeah.
It was a whole new environment. It was not an environment that I felt inspired by. Um, I had friends out there that I loved dearly, and for that I'm always grateful, but the environment itself didn't inspire me. And, just because you plant a lot of green doesn't mean it's not the desert. Um, I'm not into the desert. I need my green mountains and um, but the one good thing that came out of that when I was there, and again, I'm a searcher. I never like to just sit still and, not do anything or get depressed or anything. So I started my friend Bruce Cronenberg, who owns Abacus Studios. He came out to California to do a workshop with this woman, Anne Ganguza. Do you know Anne from VO Peeps? Of?
I had her on my podcast a few years
Of
ago.
course you did. Of course you did. Anne is,
Yeah, of course, because I've had mostly everyone at this
yeah,
point.
I saw that you had Everett Oliver too.
Yeah,
I love
everyone,
Everett.
really.
Yeah, I love Everett. And Anne was holding this workshop, and and Bruce, who runs Abacus, came out and he was like, "Oh, you should come do it." So I did. I drove like over an hour to go into this workshop, and I was hooked. It was like a video game workshop, and I was just like, "Mm, oh, I want to do that." Like, I don't, unfortunately, as you get older, it's like, how many times can you audition for the grieving mother and the grieving or the grieving wife or my husband after a while was like, "Oh my God, I can't tape you like having all these horrible things happen to you." um, and I went, and what I loved about it is that I could be anybody, I could be an orc, I could come and just tear you apart, I mean, I just loved the escape and the creativity, and I also loved that there was a freedom to it, that the voiceover world is not like it used to be. It's not like you have to have an agent or a manager in order to do it. You can sign up for Voice 123 and you can submit yourself and you can be doing cool, fun stuff. And that's kind of what I did. I laughed like as I was leaving that day, Anne was like, "Who are you? I want you." Um, and then I set up like a very rudimental. I mean, I knew nothing. I didn't have anything set up. I didn't have the equipment. I asked my friend who was doing it a little bit to come over, teach me Twist It Wave, teach me this. And then I worked with Anne like diligently for like 20 weeks or something, as she just was like drilling exercise after exercise and trying. I listened back at those old things. I'm like, oh my God, so bad. But that's where you start, right? And then by the end, right before I was getting ready to move back, I did a demo with her, which she won't let you do until she feels like you're ready. And then when I moved back, then I started working more with Abacus and doing things with them. And I signed up for Voice 123, and I would just be very dedicated and like submit auditions all the time. And I got so much fun stuff from it. I mean, I love doing it.
Yeah, because I was also going to ask you too, like, that was kind of like your story of how you kind of fell into voiceover.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's how I fell into I mean, like, I was always curious about it, but it was a very, more of a niche world, it was more of a like, it was very hard to get in to that world, It was
yeah,
like, these guys with these voices or these women, with these like, now it's opened up so much, and there's so much more content and freedom and creative. I mean, everybody needs VO these days. So it's not like just like the announcer VO, there's like so much character stuff that I can do. I did one piece where I got to play like six different characters, two main parts and three others, in one. And then, they're like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you can do that many different people." And it's just so some is very meditative. One I played like, I got a call from Slovenia one day being like, "Would you do the voice of 100-year-old wine grapevine?" And I was like, "Sure." And I recorded it before. Now I have this nice
why
pretty
not?
I know. Do you see my nice pretty booth? Like this is my nice
Oh
pretty
yeah,
hello, nice pretty booth. Um
oh yeah,
and
I got mine behind me right here.
Oh, so nice. Mine was in my closet forever with my clothes. Is that your closet?
Yep, my closet.
Nice,
So I could
nice.
literally just, I could just literally turn around, just say whatever, and get paid for it. No, that's literally how most of my days going. It's like, oh, okay, I would just be doing other stuff like work or a podcast, and then next thing you know, I get an email saying, hey, we got an audition for you, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna stand up and just record for like 1, 2 hours or however long I
However long
be
it
in here.
takes.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
but it's
brilliant.
fine. Yeah,
No, that's how I had a walk-in closet, and I created this little area for it, and it was great. It's like, "Oh, I can record with somebody from Slovenia." I mean,
yeah.
from Maribor. It was so I loved the freedom. I love the freedom of it. I love the creativity of it. Yeah, but now I have this my beautiful booth that a friend of mine happened to be experimenting with soundproofing at a time that I was like, "You wanna make me a booth?" So, my friend made this. It's very nice. My desk goes up and down. What? What?
Yeah, that is pretty funny. Because in VO, like you said, I know that there's been like so much of, we're pushing more for like authenticity and more diversity in VO, which is kind of something that I've also delved upon in previous podcast episodes. And I know that we're seeing more of like this, a transition into VO where, we can audition for, a part that represents that is so uniquely us. And now we're getting to a place where, um, now we can audition with our regular voices. And I know some of us are kind of like, ugh, I hate my voice. But when you really think about it, it's like, you know what? When you, most of the actors, like when you do video games or anime or animation or whatever media or commercials or, doing a lot of this, more grounded, down to earth stuff. And something that I've been learning recently where it's like the more grounded and down to earth you are, the more believable your performance is going to be. It's because we can do all these crazy voices and we can do this that la, 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 la,
Oh,
la,
we can do
but
this,
it,
can't we? I mean, we can.
yes, yes, we could. But at the end of the day, but I mean, like, I have a naturally, like, more deeper resonance in my
Yeah.
voice, and a lot of us kind of have we have unique sounds of our voices, and we train them to be like, oh, okay, so over time, it's like, oh, I could be like this old wizard, or I could be like this proper gentleman that is from this uptight, snooty gentleman that is from UK or what have
Okay.
you, or
Okay.
just this Australian hunter, just where's the that's hunting for
Au-
the kangaroo and what have you.
Australian's
So
hard. Australian's hard.
Australian, yeah, going
Okay.
to the Outback Steakhouse for 10.99. Yeah, those commercials, man, just crack me up. I'm sorry, but at the end of the day, it's like you just tell how much fun we just have by just slipping into something into an accent and we don't even realize it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, from New York or like from California where I am, or from Minnesota, like, or from Canada, from Canada. So,
Very
just
good,
living into
Robert.
all these
Very
different
good.
accents. Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
fun.
it's
One of
just,
the funnest thing when you have a kid, with like stuffed animals and stuff, you're like, what
yeah.
voice could this stuffed animal have? Or what voice would that have? And then you just create this whole world with them. It's
Yeah, that's literally how I would just make up characters on the spot. Just have these stuffed
oh,
animals and just make videos of like, oh hey, these characters have these. Oh, this is fun. Or you could just watch somebody on TV and they're like, you could just hear something that they do, like as a stand-up or what have you, and then you're like, oh, I'm gonna steal that and I'm gonna put it into a character and they're not even gonna know. Or they're gonna figure it out sometime
oh,
later, which is exactly what happened to me a few times. And
oh, really?
luckily, at the end of the day, I did not get sued. So at least I got job security. So
Yeah. Do not
there,
get.
there you go. But
Well,
yeah.
one of the other things that I discovered when I was out in California, one of the other gifts that came my way was this voice. There's a voice and embodiment coach named Walrab. Um, and
I've heard of them. Yeah.
yeah, he's an LA guy,
Hmm.
and he's amazing. And the work that I found him through what's the studios? Warner Laughlin Studios, you know them, they're out there. Warner Laughlin Studios, she's out in California. And I went and I did this, I just wanted again, I wanted to keep, you know, creating. And so I went to this voice class with him, and I still work with him now, like 7 years later. We work together once a month. I love him. I adore him. He has changed my resonance, my voice, my connection to self. I think embodiment is a big part of voiceover. Like, it's not just up here. It's like, how do we embody ourselves to be able to create these characters, or tap into like the different sides of ourselves? And then also just doing like, deep personal work that just makes you a better actor when you get to free up the noise that's inside of you.
Yeah. I mean, we could just nerd out about VO for like forever, but
Yeah,
yeah,
we
it
can
just
go
kind of
out.
shows how our brains are wired, man. That's pretty much what most of my podcast is. We just kind of geek out about something and then we just go on a 5 minute tangent about it.
I
That's
love
pretty much what a lot of my viewers are kind of expecting by now.
it. Uh, um, yeah, I feel like there's so many avenues out there to explore these days that
Yeah,
we're very lucky in that way.
yeah. So, what would you say were some of the biggest like projects? I know you mentioned a couple of them earlier, but what would you say were like life changing for you?
Oh, life changing? Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm. Uh, it's a good question. You know, it's funny. There is I'm there's a project right now that my friend actually wrote me into the script. Jenny Maguire is a character in the script. Um, I also, if I play it, like somebody else would have to play me, but when I play it, if I'm available, then I also play like 7 different characters, and we've already done a reading of it. But it's a semi-finalist. It's called Cooper's Story, and it's written by this amazing woman, Shannon Burkett, who has been my friend for 20 plus years. We played sisters together. Actually, this is all connected. Um, one of my big life-changing experiences was doing Cave Dweller at New York Theater Workshop, which was a play adapted by Kate Mora Ryan, a Dorothy Allison book. And it was life-changing because I met 2 people on that play, who are still my best friends today. Like, I just text they're like my sisters. We all played sisters, and I've been friends with individually of them throughout the years, and now the 3 of us really came back together during the pandemic to be like a supportive outlet, for one another. And Shannon was one of those women, and she's written this play, which I will be a part of, and she is a semifinalist for the O'Neill Center. And the O'Neill Center is this amazing workshop place up in Connecticut. It's by the water. It's just stunning. And I did a play there many, many years ago. I workshopped a play. It's like you go and you workshop a play for a week. You do a staged reading, you hold the script, but it's staged, you moved around. Um, and I did a play written by Jessica Goldberg, who's an amazing playwright and has done very well out in California, has created many shows, been the showrunner on many shows. And I workshopped a lot. She was kind of like my playwright when I first got started in the 20s. I worked on a lot of her pieces. And I got to perform with Sam McMurray, who who was in Raising Arizona. And he was like, the one that comes in and throws the jelly beans, like, I'm talking about wife swapping, huh? And and he and I got to act together, and I'm there, and it's a beautiful sunny day, and it's underneath an oak tree, and it's outside, and all these Yale graduates were there watching me, this little scrappy dog from across the tracks from Front Royal, Virginia, acting with this man, one of the few people I could quote from in a movie, doing a Jessica Goldberg play with Heather Goldenhirsch, who's another amazing actress. And I just remember going back to, like, we stayed in dorm rooms that night and just weeping and being like, this is it. This is why I do this. This is like just heaven for me. And so the idea of maybe possibly going back again right now is pretty it's special to even think about. But
yeah.
there's been so many, I don't, I life changes all the time, right? Like how we ebb and flow within this career. And I do feel one piece of advice that was given to me during Cave Dweller by the director Michael Greif was he gave me a note like the final performance. He had come and see the matinee and we had like one more show to do and we had all gone out to dinner and he gave me a note like about something at the dinner table. And I must have given him a look or something like, really? Seriously? We have like one more show left. And he was like, Jenny, it's not about taking away. It's about adding on. And that has stuck with me all these years. That it's not like just because you get a note or direction, at that point, it's not like you're doing something wrong, you need to stop doing it. It just means just add it on. It's just another flavor. It's just another layer. It's just another hat, And that's how I feel about so many things that I do. Like I don't like to limit myself. I'm like, okay, yeah, all right, let's try this. Let's do this. Let's bring this on. Oh, you want to do that project? How can we do it?
Yeah, that's a pretty good way of just balancing out everything, which we'll probably get more into in the next part. So, if anybody is enjoying this so far, let me know in the comments or just like whatever, just YouTube stuff. The algorithm got to keep it going somehow. So, yeah, I guess with that said, I'll see y'all in the next part and take care. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So, we really don't have much else to discuss, but I'm just kind of curious about because I know you kind of mentioned that you have a kid and everything. So, would you say that that's something that also takes up? I mean, it should be pretty obvious, but what is something else that you like to do from time to time when you're not working on VO or just, spending time with, your kid and stuff like that? Or
Yeah.
just acting?
Well, like I said, I live in a beautiful place with a very active community, so there's always things happening here. It's not at all hard to fill up my time. Uh, I mean, truth be told, like life as you get older, my mom has been going through a lot in the last couple of years. She had two strokes. So um, so it's actually been a really tough time of juggling real life and creative and a child. And my mom's in Virginia. So it's been it's no joke getting older. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, if people nobody tells you when you're young, like, we're all like, no, don't have kids, enjoy your life, enjoy your life. And now I'm just kind of like, oh, I would have maybe started a little bit sooner, because the juggle of taking care of parents and a child at the same time, it's no joke. And I know a lot of my friends and a lot of people who are going through that right now, so it's always this juggle of trying to find the balance between taking care of yourself, taking care of other, and taking care of your creative and spiritual being. It's a lot.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
lot, but I just
yeah,
keep trying to show up. I don't know. I feel like the key to life right now as I get older is to show up wholeheartedly, play full out, and then let it go.
yeah,
Because otherwise, especially, this is a crazy, it's the business is so different now than it was when I first started in it. The acting side of it. Now it's like everything is self-tape, you don't see anybody, it's all very vacuous. I find that part very challenging, that you send your talent out into the ether and you get no response and no feedback and I know that that's just how it is now, but I do hope that somebody challenges that at some point because I do think it's important for actors to get feedback. And I think it's important for creatives to be validated for the time and the energy that it takes to do what we do. Um, I think people think acting is easy, and it's not. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of work. I mean, it's very fun. I love it, but um, but it's a lot. And I miss the days of going and picking up scripts at an agent's office. I miss the days of walking into a casting director. Even if I didn't get the job, I enjoyed the process. Like, I enjoyed walking into a room and connecting with another person and being like, "Okay, well, I might not be exactly what you're looking for, but I still made you laugh, or I made you cry, or I made you Oh, that was one of my favorite moments was auditioning for the Coen brothers. That was a moment where I was like, "Oh, okay." Like, I made them laugh. I cry, I was like, "That's it. I'm done now." I love the Coen brothers. Um, but yeah, like I read an article recently where Bryan Cranston was interviewed, I think through SAG, and he said a life-changing moment for him was when a mentor of his told him, "It's not about the outcome, it's about the process." And that he realized he had been auditioning and feeling like he was there to get the job, and then in that way, he was giving away his power, and once he gave away his power, then, like, they can smell the desperation and what you need, and instead, he said he started making it about the process, and that each time he had an audition, rather than thinking about it as a job interview, he thought about it as, "I love to act, and this is a chance for me to show them what I would do, what I would bring to the character. It doesn't mean that you're gonna take it, but this is my opportunity to give you what I have."
That's that's also some pretty profound advice that you just bestowed upon us.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I guess
it's
I'm
another
just
Monday.
yeah, so I guess I'm combining two questions here, which is like, what are some of the biggest challenges and hurdles, which you kind of touched upon earlier, but I guess for you, how do you juggle being an actress alongside, everything else that you're doing? Because I know you mentioned you take care of family and also just do all this acting work, but what is something that has been like that has really helped you over the years, as you've been doing this full time?
Take it as it comes. Don't sweat the small stuff. Brew instead of stew. Have wonder instead of worry.
Honestly, this could be the perfect way to end this. Yeah, because at the end of the day, like we can all talk about our woes and struggles, but this is like when you really think back to a time where you fell in love doing this, and then you have to keep reminding yourself, this is why I get up every day to do this, and this is why I get up to whether it's putting a smile on somebody's face or just making somebody laugh or just making someone stay even more brighter.
Yeah.
What more? Like, that is just one of the best gifts that we could ever possibly be given.
A woman. I've decided that's what I'm saying from now. Instead of amen, I'm saying a woman.
Yeah. Preach it to the choir. Yes. I'm just being like, preaching. Okay.
Hey, praise.
Yeah. Praise the Lord. Okay. But, okay. Feel
Whatever,
free to
whatever.
promote our. Oh.
Yeah, yeah, you can if you wanna, check out Pretty Doesn't Hurt, you can go to prettydoesn'thurtfilm.com, and there's a link to the Amaletto YouTube, talk about an algorithm on YouTube. It's very helpful. The more people we get to view it, the more it gets out into the world, but watch it all the way through. And it's a
Okay.
very triggering. People have a lot to my character is we could just do a whole nother episode just talking about the layers and
Yeah.
all the topics and issues that come
Yeah.
up. Very nuanced, tight little 9-minute film. I'd be curious to hear what you think about it. Check it out.
Oh, sure. Yeah. We could do a follow-up episode at some
Okay.
point. Yeah. Yeah. But what is something else that you wanted to share or just, I mean, that is not under NDA, of course, which is the tricky part, but what is something that you wanted to say that you're really proud of that you wanted to get out, that you also wanted to share with everyone?
Mm, I'm proud of perseverance and not giving up. Every night before bed, or most nights, not every, but for many, many nights, I say to my daughter, I surround you with love and light, peace and happiness, beauty and truth, love and understanding, patience and perseverance, trust, togetherness. I surround you with love, and may the light in me bring out the light in you, and may the light in you bring out the light in me.
God.
And so I'm proud of just being a decent person who shows up in this world as honestly and as humanly as possible.
Yeah. Man, that is so good, dude. I don't know how else to top that. That could be our last words, last advice, just anything to close out this little episode on.
Mm.
So I just want to thank you so much for joining me
Robert,
for this. Yeah,
I was just gonna say, Robert, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
yeah. Thank you for joining me for this hour of discussion about just anything that we could just throw out there. So, um, I don't do this very often, but would you like to do like an outro for the show? Now that we're kind of at the end mark.
Sure. What kind of outro? Um, everybody, you mean like,
Uh, I don't know, just like it's kind of like, hey, my name is Jenny Maguire.
oh, okay.
I am da 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 da
Yeah.
da. I do this, and you've just listened or watched Station Square with Robert Jackson, or just
Okay.
say that, do whatever.
Yeah. Hi, this is Jenny Maguire, and I just had a fantastic back and forth interview with the wonderful Robert Jackson. Check him out on Station Square. It has been a pleasure discussing art and life with Robert Jackson.
We did it in one take, so hey, let's go. But yeah, I just want to thank you so much once again, and to anybody who watched this. I guess I'll see you all next time. Stay tuned for more episodes that should be coming out. That should be spread around this month. I have a huge backlog of stuff that I still gotta put out there. Accountability is important, so yeah, that's something that I'm gonna discuss with my group this week. Which, by the way, accountability is also really helpful. It's nice, and my last piece of advice: get out there, clip your wings, and just do it. That's simple as that. So, regardless, thank you for watching. Stay tuned next time on Station Square, and I'll catch y'all next time. Toodaloo. Bye bye. High five to the camera.
High five! High five! Oh, Robert, such a pleasure. You're such a delight.
Thank you.